You know what I hate? When they take one of the franchises that I really like, and they're making a sequel or a prequel or a reimagining, and you know that the writers aren't capable of doing it. So you start complaining on forums, and eventually you get people going like, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. And I'm afraid that we live in the world of cancel culture, first of all, where if I don't like it, you don't get to watch it. But secondly, this doesn't really work, because there are certain IPs that I would like to see in the future. For example, I would like to see a new Stargate, but if you were to get the people who write Marvel comic books to make the new Stargate show, you would thoroughly destroy the IP. To the point where it will guarantee that you're not going to get a new Stargate in the future. And Game of Thrones is the perfect example of this. Game of Thrones started off as one of the best TV shows that I have seen in ages. But because the last seasons were so poorly written, because the last seasons were so bad, I can't get myself to rewatch Game of Thrones. There is nothing you can do to convince me to rewatch it, because I know where it's going to end and I know how terrible it's going to be. So, like me, there's many other people that feel the same. And I'm pretty sure that with the sequel, this is going to be cemented. And we're not going to see any more Games of Thrones in the future. So the sequel they want to do is one surrounding Jon Snow. And you can already tell that it's not that they're having an interesting story to tell. It's that they want to milk the franchise for more money. They want to corporatize this and get some more money out of it. Because the way they're thinking is like, okay, well, Jon Snow was popular, so let's make a sequel with him in mind. Maybe bring some of the other actors as cameos, and we're going to make a lot of money. But in reality, you're not going to make a lot of money. Not only are people sick and tired of the previous seasons of Game of Thrones, reading this article convinces me that I'm right. So, this article says the 5 perfect villains for Game of Thrones. So, the first one would be the Great Other. Now, these enemies have been completely ruined by the last season. This is an enemy that was hyped up since the first episode. And it was many seasons that they were growing in power and they were proving to be an existential threat. And they were dealt with in one episode. So I can't take these guys seriously anymore. There is absolutely nothing you can do that would add tension. Like if I see, oh, the Great Others are coming. Oh, well, I'm sure their Arya is going to throw a shuriken at them or something, and it's going to destroy their entire army like before. Danneris Targaryen resurrected by a red priest. And now you can see why this has me worried. Because I definitely think they might pull something like this. Now, it wouldn't be impossible from a story point of view to have Danneris resurrected. But the only reason you would do it is because of the actress. Because the people at the corporation think, okay, well, her face sells. A lot of people like Dany, so let's resurrect her. And then I'm pretty sure you wouldn't know what to do with her had you resurrected her. I mean, most people abandoned her because she ended up being loco. She has no support in Westeros. The Dothraki, they went back home, as we saw at the end of the season. So, even if you were to resurrect her, what would you do with this character next? Horrible idea. And it's these horrible ideas that I think are going to probably make it into the season. I know this is an article written by a journalist who didn't talk with the people in the staff. But this is probably what the 10 people that are going to watch the sequel want. And it's probably what they're going to get. And it's going to make for awful writing. Because again, like these decisions, they come down because they sound smart on the moment. But then when you think about it, it's like, okay, we resurrected Dany. Now what? The children of the forest. I mean, the lore dictates that they all died. And the only survivor was killed at the tree where Hodor held the door. But again, the wise mind of the journalist says, okay, well, there's some children of the forest that are left, and they're creating more powerful White Walkers. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, in that case, Arya can just appear and throw a kunai and put an end to that. She can come up with a face of a child of the forest, and she can infiltrate them, murder some of them, turn them into pie, because she's a really good baker, and she bakes in stealth, as we know. And before the actual person gets to eat the pie, she warns them about what's in the pie. In other words, like, she baked that pie for nothing, because she's not even going to allow the person to have a taste. But yes, the Children of the Forest versus Chad Arya Stark. Arya wins every time. I can't take this seriously. The only person that I could take seriously is Val, okay? Because Val is a woman, and we know that in progressive shows, women are actually competent. I mean, think about the last seasons of Game of Thrones, right? You have this medieval society that gets to show you just how evil medieval societies were, and how not just women were being oppressed, but the peasantry was being oppressed, and if you didn't have the correct heritage, you were a bastard, and people hated you for that. But no, like, at the end of Game of Thrones, we got Sansa Stark, we got Cersei, we got Danneris, we got Lady Mormont, like, all these powerful women dominating the men. So, if I were to see another woman, then I would be like, okay, this is a potential threat. Like, this is a strong enemy character. This is someone that actually can pose some significance. The problem is that she's a wildling, and we know that in the last seasons of Game of Thrones, they humanized the wildlings. Now, that doesn't really happen in the books, because, well, it's in the name, wildlings, but in the TV show, the wildlings were humanized. So, I don't know if you can make it a villain. You can make it an antagonist, probably, to the main hero, but definitely not a villain. The only interesting person is probably the Three-Eyed Raven, right? Because he's a cisgender white man, and, you know, these make good villains when the progressive write them. Like, they actually care about the villainy when it's about the identity politics, but it would be a villain that's omniscient. Like, he knows everything, everywhere, controls animals. So yeah, like, this could actually be a force to reckon with. The problem is you would upset a lot of people because you would invalidate his hero journey. Although I don't even know if I can call him a hero, because, like, what the fuck did he actually do? He just flew some ravens here and there. Like, he was completely useless to the plot. Right? You remove Bran. No, think about it. You remove Bran from the story and it still plays out the same. He actually doesn't do much. I mean, yeah, sure, he becomes the king, but we don't know if he's a good ruler. And up until that point, he just flies some ravens when the battle is happening. Like, he doesn't even use some works to attack. Nothing. So, yes, like, this is probably the only mediocrely interesting villain on the list. But look at it. You know, these are the villains that they're going to come up with. And I guarantee to you, you're going to see something like this in the writing room being discussed. Because having done this, being a YouTuber for more than 6 years and having constantly looked into the Hollywood culture that's currently, and the boardroom meetings that they do in order to discuss future movies and films, this is exactly how they're thinking. They're thinking like, okay, well, what would the fans like to see? What is popular? They don't create art from the soul. It's like, hey, you know, I had an interesting concept. Like, as a fan of Game of Thrones, I thought of a natural way that the story can progress. But no, they're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to go, it's like, all right, well, what can make us money? You know, what sells? White Walkers, they're really good on t-shirts, aren't they? And people really like to buy action figures with that. Let's have White Walkers again. And you're going to just completely destroy the franchise like this. Let me know what you guys think, though. I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.